Yeah. Did you catch John Strong? Or no?
Yes, I did. He said he was passing his street at the time, so he was only about 5 minutes away.
Oh, but he is on the way.
Yes.
All right. For the animals.
Ken, just to update you two on the agenda, and we can do this officially. The applicant for 229 State Street has withdrawn their application for that case.
Okay. So when I turned, John, when I turned the mic back on, just so you know, you probably figured it out, to be recorded, it gives feedback to the projector, which is where your voice is coming from now. So it'll be a little inconvenient, but I think I have to have the mic on to be recorded, and you'd have to be heard, so.
Can you just, when, as we go back and forth, can you turn off the mic? Is it easy to do that
my
for you?
mic is off. My mic is off now, so I'll keep it off until I have to say something. But you're going to hear it double back.
So Sean, when Ken has to speak to the audience, that's what he's talking about.
I'll just come in.
Ah, okay.
I think he would be recorded, right? Oh, yes.
Well, it might be mine. Let me see. I'll just sit here.
I was going to say, you've had about all the fun you can have with us.
It's always something. But
Juliet, I'm not sure if this would help either, but you may want to mute your profile.
oh, I'm not sure if it worked. Let's test it, because when I muted it, you couldn't hear us. Let me try.
Okay. Have it. Yeah, I can't hear you. The planning department is muted. Is that the way it has to be?
I don't
Okay.
know. Do you want to try unmuting up there?
It is unmuted up there. The planning department account is unmuted. You're unmuted as well, Juliet.
Okay.
Okay.
You hear us?
Yes. Does that help at all with the feedback issue?
We can test it. It's not too bad.
Can you? It's weird it's gonna be weird for me,
Okay.
but we'll do it.
Sean, can you hear me?
Yes.
How's this? Same thing. Better? Okay. Hello.
I can hear you, Ken.
you still there?
John, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, we have a quorum. Welcome to Caud, October 4th. Our first order of business, approval of minutes from August 2nd. Do I have a motion? John made the motion,
I'll second.
second by Dan. All in favor?
I,
Thank you. First order on the agenda is 55 Main Street. And gentleman's here to present, but Sean, would you give us the background as you typically do?
Yeah, yes, I can give you the background. Let me pull up the application. So 55 Main Street, the commission may remember from a few years ago, this appeared before the board previously. And at the time, the applicant presented to the board and informed the commission that they were seeking to do repair to the porch, but the specifics weren't really completely known at the time. And so now that the applicant is once again appearing before the commission for the essentially the same application, but this time they provided additional details for the porch columns and the porch capitals that are going to be used in the replacement. Those are all included with the staff report and included dimensions as well. And just to remind the commission a little bit, so when I did an inspection of the property now, probably, let me go to the staff images. Several years ago, I uncovered that obviously the porch had additional significance because it was a porch that had been removed from another property on Chenango Street, the original like stone mansion that the Stone Opera House later replaced. When that building was removed, the porch was transferred to this property at 55 Main Street. So the porch has additional significance for this local landmark. However, when I did the inspection and met with the applicant at the site, it was clear that the porch had been repaired previously and parts had been either completely replaced with new material. So as you can see, this was original porch material or seemingly original porch material that had all been replaced. And that seemed consistent with the materials that are shown in some of the previous photos that we had in staff files of the porch, where it looks like some sort of porch replacement had occurred previously. And so obviously this porch has been previously repaired. And so the applicant is seeking to do that again in this case. So although the porch has original significance and additional significance to this property, it seems like it's been either repaired or replaced in kind previously, and the applicant is seeking to do that again today. So going back to the current proposal, we have the addition of 4 columns, and the specifications were presented here as shown on the screen. Can everyone see that? Okay. And then the capital choice is here as well. All right. So this is a fiberglass column, so it will be of a different material than the replacement material currently.
All right, thank you. So in your inspection, Sean, the reason this would be replaced is the deterioration of the columns and the capitals?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, it's not my specialty. I don't know if John wants to comment about restoring this type of stuff, but basically what you're saying is the porch has had submitted materials prior.
Yes, so it was clear to me when I did the inspection that the materials that compose the porch had been replaced previously. It is not the original material. And I didn't see original material. So it's clear to me that the porch had undergone repair previously.
Sean,
Yes,
are they replacing all of the columns on the porch or just 4?
4 were indicated in the product specifications. So that is
Which
what is
4?
before the commission.
Maybe applicant, would you like to give some clarification? Yep.
Is the microphone on for the applicant?
Oh, please. Sorry.
Upon the existing columns were probably in good shape. This was 3 years ago. When we originally started this process to renovate the porch. The original trim package that was on there was actually falling down to head level. It was dangerous to a point where it may fall on somebody. So it was removed. We started to do the roof over again and had wanted to replace the columns with fiberglass that was actually there already. So it's something in that picture of what was there. I can pass this one picture on.
I have it here.
Okay. So that was our intention. Sean stopped me. Had mentioned that it had historic relevance, that we might have to build exactly to the specifications that was prior. So now it's been kind of waiting to try to get approval to use the column toppers and the columns that we have indicated in our proposal. At the points that we requested, our judgment is that we would need 4. Rain, weather has hit them. They're not looking great. We may have to do more than 4 at this point. It's going to be what is structurally sound and what can be saved. What is relevant still. My idea is anything that I can save that is original material, I would put on the front of the house facing Main Street. And then any synthetic items that we use would be facing the driveway. That's what I'd like to do. Again, I'm gonna have to support that roof, try to take these columns down, see if they still are, stable, and we can use them. If we can't, we'd have to replace them all with synthetic material. I'm guessing, because I have not taken them down, that's probably half of the ones that are still standing are original, and others may be composite. I would not know until I actually took them apart. So the ones that I did take apart, the 3, I found that one of them was already replaced with composite.
How many columns?
There's 7 total. So I'd like to have the 3 in the front. There may be a spot that had one. Sean, do you have the original picture you could put back? Because 8. Okay, 8. Okay. So yeah, I think one was missing already. Yeah, one had fallen already, I think, by the time I got it.
Hey, Sean, can you go to the previous condition of the porch, that picture?
So,
Right there.
yeah, yep,
Perfect.
four, 1, 2, 3.
8 total columns.
Yes, I believe that's accurate. So if we can keep any original material up front, we'd like to. Also asking about the trim package that was on top. It's tied into the roof in a troughing system for the rain. That's what caused the rot. It'd be hard to kind of duplicate that reveal. We can do our best to try to duplicate it. Again, probably be using synthetic material. I'd like to bring it back to its, to appease the city. Try to bring it back to close to original look as we can. The look of the roof is going to kind of be hard to duplicate, but we will certainly give it our best effort. My understanding is that the columns and column toppers were the items that were removed and brought to this site, which we're trying to preserve that look. Wasn't sure if we we're trying to preserve the look of the top of the column toppers, the reveal of the trim, but I mean, I would do that if we had to.
Yes is the answer to that question.
Okay. I want to get this done. I'm tired of it looking like this. I'm sure the city is also. It's been an eyesore to me, but we haven't really known what direction to go into. You know what I mean? So if they can improve the material that we have given you, then we'll move forward, hopefully before the winter time. At this point, becoming not only an eyesore, but it's becoming dangerous. And I'm afraid what I'm going to find when I start this rebuild, if there's so much rot at this point that the whole structure, roof structure, has to come down. The floorboards are rotted. The framing underneath is decaying. They built it on brick columns that are straight, sturdy. The original beams underneath can stay. The decking on the porch would definitely have to be replaced. In my opinion, the ceiling is tongue and groove. I can save portions of it, try to replicate the other portions with tongue and groove. That wouldn't be an issue. I'm afraid the decking on the roof would have to come off. Probably the support for the roof as far as like the rafters would probably have to be replaced. So, I mean,
I have a couple questions.
yes,
So are you looking to replace more than 4 of the columns with a composite column
I wouldn't,
and capital?
I don't want to.
But like if it came down to it,
Came down to it because they're deemed that they wouldn't support the weight of the porch, then I think we'd have to.
okay,
So obviously we're trying to keep the original ones, if they are in good shape, can be restored easily. We'd put those all in front. Gotcha. So that's our goal.
okay.
I understand what the city wants. I'm on board with that. I'd like to put the nice columns up front. If we can save them, I certainly would do that. I would put the synthetic ones on the side. Now, the only issue I have is what if I have 2 that are good, the rest are bad? Do we put mismatching columns up front?
Well, so let me ask you a question
Yeah.
to that. So the columns that you're looking to replicate with a composite material, they're not going to be an exact replication of the existing columns.
Correct.
And we're talking about the base, the column, and the capital.
Correct.
Okay, so so there's a different shape.
Still
and
gonna be fluted
It will.
still be fluted.
with the ionic capital.
Yes,
Yep. But they're not an exact replica.
they are not.
So do you know what difference there is?
Yes. I can actually give you the pictures. between what theirs looked like and what was original wood. So with that being said, I am guessing this is the original wood. I have not taken this one down, but it does look exactly like this composite one that you can see is composite once you get a good look at it. And the indication of that being the composite are the plastic rings that are on this one, and you can see them in this picture. Now, this is one that is composite that was existing. This is one that I have not taken down. They look almost identical. So in my opinion, these all may be composite, but I haven't taken them down to inspect.
That's consistent with what I observed.
Yes,
As
this
well.
is the composite, and this is the ring. You can see them. This is one that is existing that I haven't taken off yet. And it's the same reveal as that.
Sean,
Yes,
Sean,
yes. Can you hear me?
Sean, you out there?
oh, it's got muted.
Yes, I'm here.
Are you there, Sean?
Yes.
All right, sorry. I waited for you to get up before I asked that, of course. Sean, who decides that the columns are structurally inadequate? Is that city code?
Yes.
Okay, so as you start taking this apart and looking, if it's your determination that they're not, then you gotta contact code and
Sure.
they'll verify as you've probably typically done. But I
Yes.
was just trying to decide how many will end up being replaced. No, I understand. You
Yeah.
gotta make it, I'm waiting for you to kind of work through
Yes.
whether we are gonna have a mixed match of columns. and
I mean,
capitals.
I would not want to have a mix match of columns on a restoration project.
I agree.
When you have, let's just say, two that are complete and then the other six are not, and then those are composite, and the detailing of those, especially whether it's the fluted part of the column or the capital, there just wouldn't be a consistent aesthetic there. So in my personal opinion, if they're not structurally sound, I'd rather have them all consistent. And again, if you're looking at the house from, say, the street, nobody's gonna know whether, part of the top of the capital has a certain detailing of the ionic part of it from a composite to the original wood. Unless you actually had the pictures in hand and you were doing a side-by-side comparison.
A sharp guy like yourself would know.
I mean, yes, but but I also would know that there's inconsistencies between, the restoration of, say, 2 wood columns versus 6 composite columns. And then I would also pick that up as well.
Yeah.
John?
So, well, first, it's not an original porch. Porch was remanufactured eons ago, over 100 years, when they wanted to grab this great Greek revival facade from another building that's coming down. The original Isaac Perry porch is gone. I think it would be in the best interest of the building to do all synthetic columns at this point, going ahead for another 100 years, if we can. You talked about the roof, for lack of a real appropriate term, building Yankee gutters, building gutter, probably drain through 1 or 3 of the posts internally for wash off. It lasted well over 100 years.
Yeah.
We're going to put a drain pipe up there. I'm going to want to see it in about 20 years.
Right.
So I would strongly reinforce the remanufacturing of the roof in its existing condition with internal drainage through the new columns. It's not hard to do.
Right.
It's a very slight angle, very wide breadth for the drainage tube, and a large PVC pipe running down through and draining off to a French drain. That would get me on board real
Okay.
quick and easy, with also the original artifacts being donated to the Preservation Association, Broome County Historical, something to acknowledge them in the city, and or make them available to somebody with a similar building that could remanufacture them into another porch.
If we find that when we do take them down, that they're original wood and not composite, which the toppers may very well be, except the ones that obviously you can tell are wood because they're split, may be composite, but, I'm on board with that.
Just to kind of reiterate John's point, the Yankee gutters, it's really comes down to the flashing, right? So, you know, as long as, is it an EPDM roof? Because it's a low sloping roof,
It,
Up there?
when
Like
I
a
was
rolled
there, it was, gravel and tar.
like a rolled roof,
Yeah.
gravel and tar.
Over
Are
the
you gonna
original.
go back with?
Over the original.
Yeah, it's probably metal, probably done with copper.
Yeah, I
Right.
would not like to go back with that material, no. Whatever would,
I mean, are you gonna go back with like an EPDM?
I would
Yeah.
like to, I mean, I think that would last the longest.
Because then you can take the EPDM,
Form it.
wrap it into the internal
Yeah.
gutter, and then flash it into your downspouts too.
Sure.
There.
That'd be the easiest, and I think.
You've got a
last
good deal
longer.
of depth there to create your own trough for
Yeah.
that, for the runoff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real easy.
I would prefer composite columns as well.
Okay.
You like to make a motion, sir?
Would I like to make?
Would you like to?
Are we, Sean, do you think that we're all set with this application, or does it need to be more information vetted out?
At this point, between the two staff reports, no, I think this would be a complete application at this point.
One question before we make final decision. If I did find 4 columns and toppers that are original and in good shape, and I could put them all on the front of the house. So it would have the original yield to the city and have the floor facing the driveway different. I don't know if anybody's eyes would pick up that difference, and it would preserve what was left of this porch.
My opinion is that the different would have to be presented to this board for approval to see that it's not too different.
Right. Which is in the pictures of that I have submitted.
I think we could frame a motion for either or in this case, depending on condition of the pre-existing materials when removed for determination of structural integrity.
An issue with that. I do have another question. So like the trim work that's above the capitals, below the roof, like the dental molding.
Yeah.
So is that all gonna be composite material as well?
At this point, I would say that would probably be the best solution, as I know that it's manufactured.
Yeah.
And it's going to last forever, so I know that I can get this in composite. I could probably rebuild this exactly the way it was. It would look pretty sharp and it would last forever.
So your composite dental molding is going to have to conform very close in size to
Yeah.
pre-existing.
Yeah.
Can't have some large dentals going on.
I have pictures. When Sean stopped me from the build, I immediately took pictures with my tape measure in hand of all the molding, measuring everything, took pictures so we could try to rebuild it to the specifications of works. So that's my fat thumb in that picture with the with everything. So I have all the measurements as far as the depth of all the molding. I have some examples that weren't rotted out too badly, still in storage. I think the other thing we have to go through before I forget is the handrail. It is totally rotted also. I don't know if I can find anything close to that. I will look, but what would appease the board on handrail?
So so before we get to the handrail, I have another question. So,
Yes.
Sean, can you just stay with that picture right there, please? So you see the columns that are beyond the face of the front of the porch?
Yeah.
The ones that are kind of in the entrance,
Still there, yep.
right? So those aren't, you're not looking to replace those columns, those internal columns of the porch, right? You're only looking to replace the external columns along the perimeter. Correct.
The two pylons could also, as long as they're intact, we're gonna have to observe for the porch, if the house. Yeah.
As far as the railing. I mean, obviously, we'd have to try to replicate that as close as possible, with the balustrades. The top rail that kind of curves back down. Is that something that you're looking
Called
to
a
do?
bandsaw.
Huh?
It's called a bandsaw.
Bandsaw?
Yeah,
Um,
it's not hard work.
no problem for the height. You'd rather have it preserved in the manner that it was as far as as far as that or code being up to height and I mean that's kind of a
So in a project like this, frequently what happens, you have the architectural integrity of the building, which precedes code.
Sure.
As it exists today.
Yeah.
So oftentimes they're going to require a restoration of the pre-existing handrails.
Okay.
In composite form, lumber, right? And then they'd oftentimes put a metal railing going across, maybe a 1-inch pipe reinforced to the handrail to provide for the safety of the tenants, but without detracting from the aesthetics of the building properly.
since these are in such bad shape, if I could find something that was similar in shape, but taller, so it would maybe conform to current code. Would I-
So is the railing gone or is the balustrade gone or both?
Both, there's bits and pieces that
And
are
you don't
left.
have access to a lathe?
I mean, I'm not that proficient and
Or a shop with a lathe?
right. So I asked somebody about those specifically to make them. I do believe I have a quote. And when he told me how much to replace all of them, I was
First 10 will cost you more than the second 20.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I was astonished on how much he wanted to replicate those. I'm gonna look, I mean, composite material nowadays, they literally, there's sites online that are, specifically dedicated to this kind of work that I might be able to find something exactly like these or very similar. So I'll definitely look.
Are you also questioning like current codes with handrails having to be a certain distance off the plane of the floor? Are you looking to
No, I mean,
to
those,
be in the current code criteria? Because this is a restoration
sure,
and it's not necessarily you're bringing this porch up the code other
Right.
than.
It's
Structural
grandfathered
component.
in for what it
Right.
wants to do.
yeah.
But the
no, I'll-
grandfather means
I'll-
it has to look
Yeah.
the same as it is. Just be structurally sound.
Right.
So from pictures, we will, we'll adjust the handrail to where it was. That's not an issue. I just had the question is if you wanted me to bring it up to code, but you answered that by saying it's grandfathered in as part of the preservation of the fort.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
They're hard to return. They're nice.
So all of the railings have
Uh,
to be replaced?
I have bits and pieces left. I would probably be able to, from the original material. My belief is that from the original material that I have, that I saved and preserved, I could put the front of this porch back together in its original state with the original material. That was my objective. That's what I wanted to do. Anything past that, but again, the handrails are huge because if I can't find something that closely matches it, we don't want offsetting handrails that are going to look completely different from the front to the back,
Nor the columns.
nor the column. Right. My idea was that the columns are going to be so close, and again, I think you pointed out that the eye from the street isn't going to be able to pick up the difference. If all the front were the same and the four on the side were just slightly different, that the eye would not be able to pick up those differences. but I'm all aboard. If you want me to use all the same synthetic material, so it looks the same, I'm fine with that. Just point me in the right direction.
I mean, and I'm having a conversation here with John. My,
Sure.
my suggestion would be to use all composite, you know-
I have no problem with that because it'll be consistent.
consistent.
And you can actually use some of these as a form to manufacture your own composite materials. That's not unheard of. It's pretty common right now. Handrails and food, it's easy.
Okay.
If you've got somebody that can do that.
Right.
I used to do that.
Yes.
I don't do that anymore.
Yes,
I'm tired and retired,
Right,
but I know how to,
right. I find
which is
that
why
easy.
to me, it's a sim.
I
It's easy.
get it. A lot of people are like, Matt, that was easy to you. I'm like, well, I've done it, 5,000 times. So to me, it only took me 2 minutes to do it. It's very easy for me when they've been struggling for hours.
It's like
So
if I'm
get it.
turning spindles, I would love to turn a spindle that big
Yeah.
compared to the teeny
Right.
little ones. They're just not fragile. It's great,
Sure. I bought a lathe for this project,
Oh, they're fun.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so
so I'm can teach myself.
working the faceplate out.
Yeah.
Nick, you want to frame it or?
So
one
we're
thing,
talking about
John,
framing
So
it, so it's also the porch. Right, the
I
reconstruction of the
would like
porch.
to bring the
roof.
porch in and get them going as much as possible with regard to what's presented before us.
Right.
I don't think we can act on what isn't before us in paper.
So are we just talking specifically about the
His,
columns?
his application, you have to follow the application was for columns and the capitals.
So columns and the
And-
capitals.
But the rest of it, you can give him guidance on what we want to see for the rest of it. Sean can then determine if he wants him to submit any additional information as he progresses with the job.
You're gonna be addressing the frieze down below, the lattice work, where it's crap
The
on the left
skirting?
side,
Thank
bottom
you.
stuff. and-
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, if I were to go in there and redo that, I wouldn't leave that. The baseboards are probably rotted at this point. I'd take that lattice off. I'd go underneath. I'd make sure that any structural beams, which I crawled under there, it looks great. So I was amazed on how they built that actually.
Probably on 3x6s or
Oh,
something, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's, and the piers they're all brick and they're straight, nothing's crumbling. So with that being said, yes, I'd dress up I'd take the lattice off and, rebuild that also to make it work.
Because the right side, it's kind of pre-existing.
Sure.
With a little bit of help in the left side.
Yes,
Needs to go away.
Yep.
To a fill somewhere.
yes. Agreed.
I'm just a.
So who's gonna frame it?
Yeah, I
stick-
could try to frame it.
Stick with the application, give whatever guidance else, and if there's any change in the features that want to be replaced, you've got to submit what he wants to replace it in, and Sean will determine whether that's a board issue to review.
And I'm gonna throw in 2 cents real quick, Nick. I'd like to give him the option in the motion to use synthetic columns and capitals if proven necessary, so he doesn't have to come back for reapproval where original ones aren't capable of being reused.
I thought that's the motion that we were gonna.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay, so I make a motion to approve the project at 55 Main Street with the following conditions. One, that the 8 columns with bases and capitals will be replaced with composite cast column shafts as presented in the application, so that the aesthetics, the appearance of these ionic columns will be consistent across the front face of the porch. So that's the first motion. And that's what he's asking for.
Correct. Yep. So do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Second by John, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now.
So
we
now
have a
whatever
Couple other stipulations.
guidance that you want to
Yep.
present.
So I make a motion to provide some guidance from this board about the railings. And that if you can't replace or restore the railings in kind, that you try to replace them with either a composite material or the same type of material and the same type of profile that's existing to the porch today. So we give you the option of whether going with a composite or actually going back to a wood. And like John had mentioned,
With the further suggestion of salvage parts
Correct.
going to Preservation
Yeah.
Association, Broome County, some appropriate local.
Sure.
So, second,
all in favor?
No, that's a motion.
it was.
No, I mean, if it's not an application before, I guess it's a motion.
It's a
to
motion
guide.
with a suggestion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So then let's talk about there's a couple other items. So the trim molding, the dental molding at the top, freeze board up there, and also the trim, which would be a freeze board down low too by the lattice. That would also be replaced in kind. And you would have the option of using a composite material for that as well, if you couldn't replicate it with the species and materials that were that was originally constructed with,
Conforming to the pre-existing dimensions.
conforming to pre-existing dimensions.
Second.
Second by John, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi. We want to talk about the Yankee gutters.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So it was discussed that the Yankee, so the gutter system be maintained, which I guess from a terminology standpoint, it's considered a Yankee gutter system. An EPDM roof would be utilized, wrapped around the internal gutter system, and then downspouts would come down the fluted columns and then daylight it to a French drain, which would divert water away from the house. But it is our strong suggestion that those internal gutters be reconstructed as they were back when the porch was originally built.
You understand the downspouts are internal to the. Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then reconstruction of the porch floor and porch roof.
I think cover the roof.
Yep.
And the structure there, and so floor, hand drawings, facade, freezes. You touched briefly on the floor, but I don't think the floor was in front of us.
The decking, tongue and
decking.
groove,
In the tongue and groove ceiling too.
tongue and groove ceiling, I believe I can save the majority of it and replace it with like material easily enough.
It's a shaper.
The tongue and groove on the floor rotted in most places and needs to be that material is available readily.
Do we make a motion for that?
I think we should.
So I make a motion to repair and replace the tongue and groove flooring and also it's beadboard ceiling, tongue and groove beadboard ceiling. In kind with like material. As the applicant had stated that it's readily available to replace in kind.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Handrails and freeze.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Did. Good.
Yep.
I missed someone.
Yeah, you gave me a second on that.
Okay, good. Jeez. I gotta pay attention.
Sean, do you think that covers everything or are we missing something?
Did you include the skirting?
I thought we did.
Yeah. You mean, maybe we didn't. talk about this.
Oh, throw it in there anyway.
So yeah, so I make a motion to replace the skirting in kind. As it was presented in the application.
So that would be the northwest Freeze being the original and the southeast, it's the north side of the building, south north. That one's gonna go some, so you're gonna remanufacture something to look like the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Okay,
Vertical, square. Yeah, more squared.
Yeah.
And not diagonal. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not the,
it's
not the
parallel.
Lowe's version of lattice work.
Yes.
The traditional,
bunch of little one bys tacked together.
Yeah.
So Mick made the motion, John,
I will second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I think that completes it.
Okay, staff go sell a kidney now to pay for this.
Sell somebody else's.
All right.
All right,
I'll
thank
have,
you,
I'll have notice from John.
Yes.
That's Don's part of it.
Sean.
Okay, very good.
Probably
Thank you.
within the week. Thank you. Make us proud, man. But it's fine up here, so everybody want to have your company.
89 Walnut.
Okay, moving on to 89 Walnut Street. This is a application for a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of new signage. The applicant is 3i Graphics and Signs. And they're proposing 2 new signs on the property. One is an 18-inch by 18-inch directional sign that is mounted to the fencing along the iron fence along the property. The actual mount for the sign, and I'll show you an image in a moment, is pre-existing. The second sign is program signage that will be mounted to the facade of the building immediately to the left of the primary entrance, and it includes the names of the entities that currently utilize the building. And again, that's a 12 by 18-inch sign. That sign will be anchored into the building through the mortar joints in the masonry. I worked with the applicant to sort of develop more sympathetic signage for the building, and the applicant complied with my recommendations. The only other recommendation I would give the applicant with that signage is I'd actually recommend that they change the order of the programming. I think the Hemingway House would look and appear and sort of orient visitors to the building more clearly if it was placed on top of the Noma and Lords signage. So it's probably the order of that sign should be rearranged, but that's just a staff recommendation. And then as you can see on the left in the rendering is the directional signage, which is for parking. And like I said, this portion of the sign actually is pre-existing. So the only portion that's new is the sign face that's going to be installed on it. The wrought iron fence obviously is pre-existing.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Anything to add, applicant? Okay, thank you. Comments?
I think the
Agree
signs
with-
are appropriate.
Yeah, I agree with Sean, just
Yeah.
reordering,
Rearranging.
maybe the Hemingway House up top.
Does that present a problem at all, sir? Okay. Wanna do it?
All right, so motion to approve the application at 89 Wall Street or Walnut Street for signage with the caveat that the Hemingway House be placed up at the top of the doorway entrance, and an approval of the existing design, which is a replacement in kind for the directional signage as well.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Yes, please.
I know there's been a couple of no trespassing and keep out signs that have appeared just recently. Been having trouble in the neighborhood or? Yeah. I live a few blocks away and the signs have just appeared recently. They're just curious. You're doing a nice job. Nice property.
All right, for the record, 229 State Street was withdrawn. And 45 Lewis Street, we have a recusal and therefore do not have a quorum, so that was also tabled to next meeting. So we're now on 128 Prospect Avenue.
Correct.
Excuse me,
Does Mark,
Ken,
would Mark like to present? Yeah, Mark, technically.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
we-
sorry.
Yeah, if you don't mind, if we could present, I think that's better.
Oh, I thought it was Mike, I'm sorry.
Okay, so Sean, do you want to start out or just have Mark present what he is interested in doing?
I can start out, and it should be treated exactly like, any other application, with the exception of that the commission cannot take action on it today. And Mick is recusing himself from this application due to conflict.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so the applicant in for this case and for property address Station Square 45 Lewis Street is Station 45 Mark Yanati. This is an application for a certificate of appropriateness for signage. And going through it, so the applicant in this case has proposed the installation of new internally illuminated mounted sign that will be mounted to the southwest corner of the building's tower, right? Just to go through, this was the rendering that was originally presented. I spoke with Mark a few weeks ago about sort of how this had been refined, and he provided me with a little bit more information at that time. So you can see, right, that it's not, sort of a see-through mounted sign. There is sort of an acrylic, and that's where the light shines through. It is a large sign that's going to be mounted, like I said, to the existing tower. This was before the acrylic was applied. There is a mounting mechanism that has already been installed. You can see it here. I included existing photos. In going through it with consistency with the guidelines, overall, it's inconsistent with the guidelines. And I can sort of walk through the reasoning as to why. And this is not a critique of the design of the sign. I just want to make that clear. The placement of the sign is the overall inconsistency with the guidelines, and that this isn't traditionally where signage was located on the building. It's being installed over the coins of the tower, so it'll hide the coins behind and the masonry behind. I mean, it will be very visible, right, because it's being installed on the tower. But it's really just the location. It's an internally illuminated, which the commission has generally pushed away from, and it's just not within the scale of signage for the building as well. And so that's something I wanted the commission to take a closer look at.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Mark, would you like to add?
No, that's okay. Whatever you guys decide, you decide.
Okay. Anybody want to discuss any piece of this? I mean, we can't act on it, but is there anything anybody wants to add?
Is there any way to use the sign? Looks like it's manufactured at this point, but minus the internal illumination. I know that's going to probably be a concern just because in the past we've not allowed that and sets a precedent.
So if I'm correct, there's a sign downtown across the street from SEFCU called Beer Brothers. What kind of illumination is that?
That building, Mark, is not in the Court Street Historic District and is not subject to Caud review.
It's on Court Street though, isn't it?
It is. It's not part of the historic district.
Okay.
Just as the bank prior was not subject to Caud, neither is that property is not subject to Caud.
No, I kind of like the sign itself. I'm not so keen on the location, but like, we can't vote on it. We need a working forum to be able to go forward. At this point, we just have to table it.
Okay, so, just moving forward, so the conflicts that we have, if we follow the guidelines, are the location of where it's on the building and what it hides, the massing of it, and the internal illumination. So as we think about this before it comes to the board next, those are the things that, what makes this one different from the others? How can we get to a point where this is justified without, as Dan said, setting a precedent for other people who want eternally lit signage in the historic district that we've routinely not allowed to have happen. So those are the things that we have to think about for the next meeting. What makes this location unique, I guess. And that's how we've handled some of these before, because it is a good looking sign. It's just it's going in the face of the guidelines in a couple locations. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the determinations of historical significance portion of the agenda. The first application is for a determination of historical significance for demolition. It's the property located at 128 Prospect Avenue, and the applicant is Robert J. Pornbeck. The applicant has proposed, essentially owns this property and the adjacent property next door. They spoke, and you can see it in the staff report, about how this property has sort of evolved into what's perceived as a nuisance to the neighborhood. And so they're basically looking to just remove it, maintain green space in association with the adjacent property. They've recently acquired it from a previous owner. And so this isn't an instance where we have demolition by neglect. This was not caused by the applicant. In going through basically the statement of significance and description and any criteria that the property may have met with regard to historic significance, from a staff perspective, I'll keep this brief, but I didn't find any. The property may have well at one point had sort of an architectural significance, but because of the overall lack of integrity with regard to replacement materials and deterioration and removal of architectural elements of this property, I don't find that it possesses architectural integrity anymore at this point. And so it lacks that. The most significant occupant of the house appears to have been an individual named Junius Collins, who you probably saw in the staff report, had a lovely large obituary in the Binghamton Press. But in going through his significance, I couldn't find why he was well known in the community. The obituary actually just mentions that he was a very well-read man. And so beyond that and beyond how well read he was, I'm not quite sure why he was particularly significant in the community.
Okay, thank you. Anything you want to add, applicant? Okay, perfect.
Is the applicant speaking? The microphone is off.
The button on the mic.
Sorry, I
There we
should
go.
have told you.
This would really complement my property and also the whole area over there. It's a eyesore. There's been 5 owners in the last 8 years that I've lived there, and not a single owner has done anything. The building now is gutted. They did it during COVID. It was condemned back in 2018. And it sat there ever since. During COVID, the owner of the building, under the radar, brought in a demolition crew and took out about 15 dumpsters of the interior of the building. So there's really nothing left in the inside. It's been leaking the roof for 3 years now. And the structure is compromised. The foundation's not in good shape. There's mold, like I won't even go in the basement, to take pictures. It's that bad.
What are the plans for the project? Just gonna make it grounds to attach to your home?
I'm sorry, what?
The plans after it's knocked down to make grounds
Yes.
to adjoin the home?
Yes. Green space.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Okay. All right, so as you guys know, we have to go through the secret proceeding, and I'm missing Mary Ellen, who likes to read this. I know, right? Would you like to,
I
Dan?
heard
I
a
appreciate
volunteer.
that.
I heard a volunteer.
So, I gotta, make a motion to declare this as as Caud as lead agency.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to declare this action as unlisted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dan, thank you. Yeah. Right here. That's big.
Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? No. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of land use? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in adverse change in existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supply or public-private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historical, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No.
Okay. Make a motion to declare this as a negative declaration.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
John?
Yeah, I need to.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan, you're right. I need a roll call. Nick? In favor of the negative declaration.
Oh, I'm in favor.
Yeah, John
Aye, in favor.
and
Aye.
Dan. Yep. Thank you.
Joanne. No, not yet.
One more thing.
I gotta hear my 2 cents here.
There's a procedure involved with all that.
Okay, so this is the. You think I'd have it down to a science by now, and Secretary of the Interior's guidelines for historic preservation. The building possesses integrity of location setting. 1, if the structure is an outstanding example of a structure or memorial representative of its era, either past or present, or the structure does not appear to be an outstanding example of a structure, excuse me. If the structure is one of the few remaining examples of a past architectural style or combination of styles, or if the structure is associated with a historical person or event of significance to the city, region, state, or nation, I'm finding none, and I would make a negative declaration at this time. Tear it down.
I second.
Seconded by Mick, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, bud. Always a pleasure. You too.
All right. 28 Clarke Street.
Thank you.
Okay, again, this is an application for a determination of historical significance for demolition for the building located at 28 Clarke Street. The applicant in this case is Robert Smith. The applicant has proposed the demolition of the residential building located at 28 Clarke Street. Additionally, there is a garage located to the rear of the structure. The vacant property officer determined that the roof, and particularly the southern portion of the roof, had been compromised. Again, I'll keep this brief, but the building did not appear to meet any of the criteria for a determination of positive historical significance. The most significant owner of the house, when I dug through the historical record, appeared to have been a DeWitt Crandall, who was a World War I veteran. And going through again, the building here possessed integrity of location and setting, but the other aspects of integrity it appeared to be lacking, and so that there doesn't appear to be historic significance to this property.
Applicant like to add anything?
Pardon?
Would you like to add anything to that description?
I don't even hear him that well.
Oh, okay. All right.
Anything you want to say at this time, sir?
Pardon?
Anything you want to say at this time?
No.
Okay,
Comments from the board?
I've driven by it and I don't see anything.
I don't
there.
have any comments.
Okay. Make a motion to declare Caud as lead agency under seeker.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to declare the action as unlisted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Dan,
Do we do a roll call?
at the end.
Oh, okay.
Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? No. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies or public-private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the important historical, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No.
Thanks, Dan. Make a motion to declare negative declaration, and I'll need a roll call, or I need a second first.
Second.
Okay, Nick? Aye. John.
Aye.
Seconded. Dan,
Aye.
all in favor, thank you. Passed. John,
Yes, sir. Can't wait. All geared up and ready to go. They've changed the format.
well,
Oh, there. Look
I
at
gave him
that.
the wrong format.
Hello, old friend. Criteria for determination of historical significance for demolition. The commission's determination of historic significance shall be based on the following considerations, which are based on the United States Secretary of the Interior Standards for Historic Preservation. Important statement. If the structure is an outstanding example of a structure memorial representative of its era, either past or present, or if the structure is one of the few remaining examples of a past architectural style or combinations of styles, or if the structure is associated with a historical person or event of significance to the city, region, state, and nation. Having found none, I make a negative determination of its historical significance, make a motion to tear it down.
I second.
Seconded by Mick, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for your patience today.
Good announcement.
Sean, do we have any other business?
No, there is no other formal business on the agenda. Two things, both properties that the commission reviewed for National Register listing were approved by the State Review Board. And so those are being forwarded onto the National Park Service, and I'll follow up with updates when I have those. And one other piece of good news is that there may be a raise coming for the stipends for commissioners. Juliet can provide a little bit more information on that as well.
Enough to buy new shoes?
Shoe.
A
Shoe.
shoe, one shoe.
Okay.
Hey, Sean, I had a quick question for you.
Yes, Mick.
Shawnee there.
Yes.
So next Tuesday, are we still reviewing Mark's application?
The intent would be, yes, I will poll the commission if they're able to attend next Tuesday, a special meeting next Tuesday. You
if
will
I'm re-
again be
If I
removed.
recuse myself, would I need to be there?
No.
Unrelated but similar topic, October 28th is the Preservation Association Spirits Tour of Binghamton's Past. Starts at 6:30 at the Carnegie Library, currently known as the Culinary Institute of SUNY Broome. Be there or be square, guys. It's fun.
Okay. Juliet, thanks for your huge effort at the beginning. It was an interesting time, Sean.
You made it through.
Yeah, we did, and I'm actually really happy that we got through a good part of the agenda. All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.